Welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David and I'm your host. Today I have with me the new president of the Secondary Schools Football League. Let me take time to introduce Mr. William Wallace. Welcome to the set.
I thank you for your introduction, and pleasant good evening to the viewers in Trinidad and Tobago.
So I know you're a teacher by trade.
Yes, I am.
And thank you for taking a busy, take time off your busy schedule to be here with us. What is your plans, or you succeed who?
Mr. Anthony Creed.
Mr. Anthony Creed?
Yes, that's the president for the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I have just taken over from him. I was acting vice president for 4 years. So first vice president, for 4 years. So I'm quite familiar with what was happening at the top of the secondary schools league. I'm quite familiar with where the direction we were going in, and I would just continue to take the league in that direction. I think we were really on the up. Having last year, for example, landed a major sponsorship with our media.
Flo?
Not Flo, Sportsmax.
Sportsmax,
yeah.
Okay.
And, and that was a big thing for us. They are with us for the next 5 years. And with Sportsmax and our other sponsors on board, and I think secondary school could only go from here on in.
Okay, so who you had last year? You have a television program? Or
no, we have Sportsmax. They have exclusive broadcast rights for the league.
broadcast rights?
Yeah.
So you guys took that away from George and ACTN?
No, I don't think they ever had exclusive, but they are still with us and can at any time do some work for us.
Okay, let me get my viewers to know a little bit about your background. You were a manager with the national team?
Well, I have been around sports and sports management for quite some time. Actually, I was in cricket at the national level. I was a member of the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board, executive member, under Derek Murray as president. I managed national cricket teams, under 15, under 19.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved to football. Well, during that time, I was involved in secondary schools football anyway.
Right.
But I moved to football at the national level in 2012 when I was asked to manage the national under-23 Olympic team that year. And I went on to manage teams at probably all the levels in football. And recently, of course, for the last 3 years, I managed the national team with Stephen Hart as coach.
Right.
When Stephen Hart, of course, exited the scene, I did the same.
Did you play football?
Never did. Well, just by the way, nothing
Well,
serious.
everybody played football, but not in a competitive way.
Yeah, I played cricket up to the level of representing Tobago at national under 19.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You from Tobago then?
I'm from Tobago, yes.
Okay, so you played against Keith Rowley probably. Right?
I don't think Keith played cricket.
I thought he was a sportsman. He played football, I think.
I think a bit of that, yeah.
Right. Okay, so the league is going to start when?
We kick off the second week in September. There are some plans that we have. I don't know if I can share them with you yet because we are still firming them up, where we would have a grand opening of the league for the first time in August. We have some foreign partners with us on this one, and we are planning a really large activity for the last week in August, and that will kick off our season. As I said, I do not want to expound too much on that since we still have to firm up all the arrangements, but that should be something that Trinidad and Tobago should look forward to.
No, there's a lot of people still trying to get used to the structure that just came in maybe a couple of years ago.
Yes.
With the, it used to be north again, and then south, and now explain that.
Well, we still have the zones. We still have our 5 zones going. We have championship divisions in those zones, along with the lower divisions, of course, right? What we did, however, is that we introduced what we call the Premier Division. And basically the thinking behind that was to try to get the best players playing against each other.
Right.
For example, there are some of the zones who considered to be weaker zones. and a particular school will dominate in that zone.
Right.
And as soon as that school goes out into another zone where the competition is better, you know, they lose badly. And we thought it was best to try to get best players to play against each other. And of course, at the end of the day, it is a greater development for the players, you know. So we introduced the Premier League where we have 15 schools participating.
15 in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And that's from the whole nation.
Yes. So we have relegation, 3 teams going down every year. So
coming up.
Yeah. So it is possible, for example, that you may have 4 teams from South, for example,
Right.
in a given year, once they qualify to get promoted.
So you have the Premier Division, and then what on the Premier
We have the
Division?
Championship Division.
Uh-huh.
All right, same age group,
Right.
basically, but that is played zonally.
Right.
And it's from that group that we have relegation and promotion taking place.
Right. And then you also
And
have
then we have the Senior Division,
right.
and we have, of course, the under 16, under 14s. We have
Usually.
Form 1s and so on. So
No, this is
everybody has
done
a
with
chance.
men and women.
Yes, we have we don't have a premier for the women at this point in time, but we do have championship women.
Okay. So and there's no conflict in fields and
Most
And
of the
that kind of
schools,
stuff,
most of the schools own a field. So for the bigger games, of course, we try to use the stadiums and so on, and we try to book those early enough so that we can get use of them. But the schools generally have fields to play.
now, what do you do for marketing to get your crowds out there
And that has been
that.
an issue over recent years where we definitely have had a fall away of supporters. Definitely, I remember the years when we did not even have standing room in Skinner Park, for example. You know, Benedict's versus Arima over recent. I mean, a couple of years ago, and you couldn't get a space in Skinner Park. And of course, many factors are responsible for the crowds falling away from the football. I would think one. I think the quality of the football has declined. That's one. Our own social problems and issues of crime and everything else, and then of course all the other interests that these young people seem to have, you know, and it has taken something away from support away from the game. However, we have been trying, especially through our sponsors, over the last couple of years, to do promotional stuff and sponsors really coming out and advertising the games and so on, and trying to get people back out to the games. We have seen a slow growth. And we are hoping that with, for example, Sportsmax on board now, that we will see more people coming out eventually to the games.
Isn't it that during the school period, the guys get to practice after school or during school hours?
Most of our the schools would train after school.
After school.
All right, so during the July-August holidays, of course, they're on vacation, so they will train during the day. And so on, but when the season starts, training will take place at probably 3 o'clock in most schools.
And that does not have a conflict with the parents and stuff and time the kid getting home? And
Not necessarily so. I mean, especially at the higher level where we have, these are basically under 20s and so on, you know, some 6th formers and so on, you know. So if you started training at 3 o'clock, by hour and a half, by 5, you are through. And, you know.
A 20-year-old could be playing college football now. Is that right?
It's an under 20 competition.
So when I play, I mean, you have to be under 18.
Well, what has happened over the Ministry of Education has changed the age of a student, where a student can be in secondary school up to 6th form level. And what we do is that we work along with the Ministry of Education. So we don't deny a student who is really in school, a bona fide student, from playing. So we have adjusted our age over the years to suit the ministry's criteria for a student staying on in school.
A lot of people would like that, but so because the age has gone 2 years higher than the 18 it used to be, the secondary school football should be better, don't you think?
Well, I think it's not just to do with age. It's to do with the whole structure of football in Trinidad and Tobago. I really believe that the organization charged with the responsibility for any sport should play a major role in shaping the athlete. What has happened over the years is that I think athletes are basically shaped by the way in that, for example, a young man has an interest in football. If something is happening in his community, he gets involved. For persons who are probably more fortunate, where there may be a coaching school, They get involved at a younger age and so on. But I am saying that the organization that is charged with that responsibility should play a greater role in shaping that athlete. And I think it probably may have started now. I know that they are talking about a grassroots program. I don't know what else the national, the TNTFA has in the mix, but I think it is necessary. For example, if I can go back to my days in cricket when I was charged with the responsibility for youth development, where we had our whole concept was from the cradle to the grave. And we believe that we should play a major role in development. And we had a youngster leave school on a Friday afternoon. He comes into a school. We had his school set up as satellite academies. And he comes in. We had teachers involved with them. And they go through their paces over the weekend. Well organized. I mean, it's like, for example, if it's a batsman, for example, before he starts, the coach would have done some taping sessions with him. So the coach knows he's working on a particular thing to correct a particular thing during the course of time, So, and we had those going. Right now, the young generation of cricketers in Trinidad and Tobago would have gone through those programs. We bought televisions, we bought camcorders, we had everything. And we used our schools as centers. So we bought stuff for them to sleep on. And we had, as I said, that helped in shaping a batch of players that would probably soon leave the Trinidad and Tobago scene. And there is nothing in place as far as that is concerned for developing players. And I think it's the same thing that should happen in football. We at secondary school, for example, we had embarked on, of course, funding was a problem, so we got stopped. But we had actually trained coaches, 20-odd coaches, to run academies. And we had a program and everything set up. BG Trinidad and Tobago actually were the one who funded the training. And we never get it off the ground because we just did about probably $1 million at that time to have this going on weekends and during the holidays. It never happened.
So a secondary school kid cannot play in regular league football during school period, or is when the season starts?
When the season starts, there's a cutoff time that he stops playing for.
Cannot play in two leagues. Yeah. That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And do they allow, like back in the day when we played ball, we were allowed to sleep in, train, stay on the campus, train and play football. Is that allowed still?
It is. Some schools, especially during the vacation when they are preparing, they have their camps. Some schools go up to Tobago, for example, and camp for 10 days. The guys sleep over and train, play practice games, etc. So
there will be no penalty if I could keep my boys year-round training?
No, if you can do that, that's great. As a matter of fact, that is a fantastic idea once it can happen.
Okay.
In terms of developing the player.
Yeah, because I know there is so much limitations with the Ministry of Education and so on and so saying. The reason I'm saying this is because I tried to run a primary school football competition in Point Fortin. And if you know Point Fortin?
Yeah, quite well.
Egypt and Tiche is like, you can stretch your hand and hold each other. And the kids from the Egypt school had to get permission from the Ministry of Education to go into the teacher ground to play football.
During school hours? During school hours?
Well, when they say school hours, the actual... Yeah.
Well, yes. I mean, even at secondary school, if we are embarking on something, we have to get the blessings of the ministry. Because, especially at primary school level where these are really young persons, and you need to make sure that they are okay, that that their safety would be of concern to the Ministry of Education, and the ministry would need to know that if you are taking them out, that they would be safe, and So, but that would be the only bugbear. Once you can actually send a proposal to the ministry or to even the school, the principal. But basically, the principals are the ones who would have the call. They are the ones who would have to tell the ministry, I am okay with this. All right? And once you have a proposal that the principals are comfortable with, I don't think you should have a problem.
So back in the day, they didn't care about us?
Well, times
Because
have
we did
changed.
it.
Times have changed.
Okay.
You would have been able to walk the streets at 8 o'clock without worrying.
Okay.
Now it's not like that. We have young people just disappearing off the streets of Trinidad and Tobago.
You were going to make a point. I'm sorry, I cut you off. What was that? You don't remember?
Can't recall.
Okay, so let's talk about your league. You said you got 15 teams in the top
Premier.
in the Premier, and how many in the second?
In the championship division, we have approximately 35 teams.
35.
Yeah.
And you run that 35 teams.
Well, we have 5 zones, so you have approximately 7.
Or you do a
7
zonal.
schools. Yeah, we have zones.
So then, when you do it zonal, then how you do the promotion?
All right. At the end of the day, the winners of each zone, they are in a playoff for 3 spots.
Or 5 teams for 3 spots. So is it like a round robin between them?
Yeah.
Everybody play each other.
Yeah.
And the one with the 3 highest point.
Yeah, they get promoted.
So if there is a tie, what we do?
We haven't been faced with that yet, but I am certain that we will be able to work that out.
Well,
you can also use, I'm certain, I think there are things in which we can use the head-to-head, and then who would have beaten whom. If it's 2 teams that probably from the same zone, if one particular team would have beaten the other in the league competition.
Head-to-head.
Yeah.
So there's no away goal and stuff like how they do it in international football.
No, we don't. We have not.
You guys have problems with referees, or you have your own pool of referees?
Well, we use from the general pool of referees in Trinidad and Tobago. We pay them, so we basically get them to come out. All right. So at the beginning of the season, we sit with the referees, and we arrive at a figure. This is what we are working for 2017. And once that is settled, basically, referees turn out our games.
So where's the funding coming from if you're paying?
But as I said, we have sponsors. We have Shell on board with us. It was previously BG Trinidad and Tobago. Shell is with us. We have First Citizens Bank on board with us at this point in time. All right, and so we in terms of funding, we are pretty okay at this point in time. One of the problems that we have though at the lower divisions. Those are the divisions that really suffer. We do have referees that do in those divisions, but there's no sponsorship at the lower levels. Everybody seems to want to sponsor at the upper level. So whatever the league can cream off to help the lower levels, of course we do, but we definitely need some sponsorship at the lower levels. That has always been a problem in Trinidad and Tobago, where sponsors seem to want to hold on to the top and not the bottom, where we have development taking place.
The schoolboys never get a chance to play against the bigger guys. But let me take a break now, and when I come back, I'll pick up what I'm talking about now, where I left off, and we discuss that.
Sure.
Viewers will be right back after the short break.
I'm going to say this here without fear of contradiction, that I don't think that the Pro League, for example, has really done what it was supposed to do for Trinidad and Tobago football. All right. As I said,
Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited offers solutions to your immediate and future potential problem areas by providing you with a qualified team of safety consultants. Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited, building a reputation on quality and value since 1999. Located 23 Todd Street, San Fernando, Trinidad. Phone 868-657-1534 or 868-788-6955. worldwidesafety@yahoo.com.
Okay, viewers, welcome back. I'm here with William Wallace, and William is the president of the Secondary School Football League. William, before the break, I was saying that we're talking about the decline in secondary school football. Like, it's not as good as it was back in the day. But also back in the day, we had a league, secondary league school football team that played there was a league for all the associations or leagues like SFL, POSFL. Secondary school had theirs, and they competed against the bigger guys.
Mm-hmm.
but the guys now don't get to do that. So
Well, that is probably an issue in terms of the quality of the football, going to where it was then. But of course, what has happened is that the league has expanded. At that time, I suppose, there probably would have been about 8 schools, probably. It's just the conventional schools, what we call the St. Mary's and the
yeah, it was
colleges.
6, yeah, there were 6
Right,
schools,
6. And they would have been playing. Now we are actually dealing with 112 schools in Trinidad and Tobago.
yeah. It's a bigger pool.
Bigger pool. All right. And of course, the whole structure of competition has changed. I mean, lots of these youngsters are also playing with pro league clubs. They would play. I mean, and they stop at a particular point, but they play with clubs. What has happened, as far as I am concerned, is that the whole structure, including the pro league, and I'm going to say this here without fear of contradiction, that I don't think that the pro league, for example, has really done what it was supposed to do for Trinidad and Tobago football. All right. As I said, it been involved at the national level with players who would have would come from the clubs, all right, come to the national setup, and that they are with you. You bring them up to scratch, and they leave you. They come back, and you have to all bring them up to scratch again. At one point in time, the athlete, whether it was cricket or football, there is something called complementary training, where the athlete did on his own. Gali would tell me, for example, he would leave Tragridge Road and he would take a football and he would be kicking it, going towards the savannah in the afternoons, kicking it through the trees, the wire in the trees, kick it, collect it on the other side and keep going, And our players, I think they spend, the most time they spend on the field is with coaches. And really and truly, that really can't develop you. You are supposed to be working on your own. You are supposed to be playing a role in your own development, And one of the problems that we have is that our athletes are not doing that, and therefore the rate of development is not there. You have players at national level where some basic stuff, the basic things in football, trapping, passing the ball, that they have problems with. They are national teams, but that is the pool that you have to draw from, and those basic things are missing, And some of this have to do with the player who is not taking time out to develop his game. I think that is a major problem.
Of course, it has to be rules for secondary football. So I know here you mentioned that they play in the pro league, and now they come and play secondary school football, which I think should not happen.
Well, not pro. Let me take that back. I should not say the pro league. All right.
Okay.
But they'll play on the age group teams.
Or the youth.
Yeah, the youth level.
Youth team.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
because
not pro. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously that would have been a conflict, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. So let me talk about what plans you have for the women. A lot of concentration is really based on the men. First is on the top flight, the Premier League and this championship. We spend a lot of time on that, and we the other leagues is like the stepchildren kind of. Maybe you don't feel that way because you think, but it's not as much emphasis.
You are making a good point. Women football in Trinidad and Tobago, the growth of women in Trinidad and Tobago secondary school, we have played a major role in that growth. All right. Whereas you had national teams in terms of age group teams at the national level in Trinidad and Tobago, that was non-existent. But it existed at secondary schools. Where we had the girls playing at the different age group levels, so they take their time to develop and so on. So we have played a major part in women's football in Trinidad and Tobago, and we'll continue to do it. And we have been trying our best to try to treat the women the same way we treat the men.
Right.
All right. This whole thing about gender bias and so on, we are trying to get away from that as educators and so on. That is something that we can promote to start with. So we have been making, over the years, we have been trying to make sure that you're playing a game in the stadium. Yes, we want the women's game to also play in the stadium. If we have a big game, we have a final or a semi-final, try to get a game to play. Those things, we try to do that as well to try to give the women some recognition.
If a woman is as good as a guy and she can make the guy team, would she be allowed to play in it?
No.
Is that
They have the own space.
they have the separate thing? Okay, so what's the groups we have in the women? The men, we have the champions, the premier, the championship, and then the zones.
Right, we
With the women,
we have championship women,
championship,
we have senior division women, and we have under 15. So
and
we
then
have-
under
Yeah,
15.
we have a lot.
But it's national or it's zone.
Zonal.
It's all zonal. So how do you select the champion?
We have an inter-zone competition at the end of the day.
The one
When
team,
we from this
the
zone,
one team
yes.
play like a round robin
Yeah,
kind of.
yes.
Oh, so they get to play a lot of
So
football.
they get to play a lot of football, yeah.
and they go any of the women, the younger kids that play in this gets to play for the national team.
Yeah, we have players a lot of the players on the youth teams, national youth teams are school players.
Right. What about the big team, the national?
Well, they would have
women
gone
team?
on. All of them would have graduated at some point in time. The Meili, Johnson, and all of them would have played and
Right.
would have eventually gone on to the national setup.
But who's in the one I'm talking about? The ones in the national team now. Do we have any college player? or
No,
high school player?
not person going to college at the moment. They would have
Right.
graduated and move on.
Okay, when they
Yeah,
graduate.
yeah.
What about in the men's side? Do we have any kid now? Or maybe you don't know,
No.
but none.
Would have graduated.
They all
Also.
graduated. You know, and also back in the day, you see a lot of the
Yes.
guys.
We have players on the under 15 and the lower division teams. We have players, but not the under 20 and the under 15 national team,
Right.
all schoolboys. But the national senior team, no, we don't.
Right. I hear you say about the stadium filled with St. Benedict's. Which St. Benedict's you talking about? The one recently?
You want to
or
have the
one
your time.
back?
You want to have the your time.
Well, after my time.
Yes.
Okay, so St. Benedict's has maintained that tradition for a long
Yes,
time.
yes, yeah, for quite some time. You know, where we have, I remember a particular game now, St. Benedict's versus Arima in the state in Skinner Park, and I mean you couldn't. There was no room.
Right.
You know, so. But again, as I said, there are so many factors that are responsible for.
So
Crowds
they
falling
almost
away.
fell out. They almost fell out to the Premier League, right?
Yeah,
But they made it they hold tight.
yeah, it is still, yeah.
Otherwise, you guys would have been, when I say you guys, I mean the secondary school league,
Mhm.
it would have been a tragedy for them to be out because they have such a big tradition.
Well, it may be more of a tragedy for St. Benedict's than not the league.
Not the league, you don't think? It would pull the crowd back?
Nah, I mean, over the years, we have had other schools who have come to the party, man, and who
Yeah.
have been doing pretty well. You know, we have Presentation right in San Fernando here, Naparima. Those schools are doing pretty well. Benedict's, you know, they have a challenge on their hand at this point in time, on their hands. We have Shiva boys from South here doing pretty well. Actually, won the league 2016. You know, so we have other schools who have really expanded their programs and really, you know, competing, really creating good competition in South, for example, in all these zones, you know. So
You're not a biased guy because you don't mention Signal Hill, but anytime I start talking football, I talk Point Fortin first.
went for it.
So you didn't even call
And even Signal Hill, they
or-
was, well,
or
come on,
Tobago
Signal
team.
Hill have their tradition. Yeah, I don't speak from the point of view of Ireland. I speak, you know.
I know, but not Ireland, but it's who you like.
Actually, Signal Hill, there was a time when they ruled the roost. You know, there was a time when they ruled the roost. Over recent years, they have not been able to do that, but you know, that tradition is still there. You know, the Hutchinson, the Dwight York, you know, they ruled the roost at one time.
So how many teams from Tobago is in the
Premier League now from Tobago, we have 2 teams. I think we have 2 teams now, if I recall well, Speyside and Signal Hill. 2 teams.
Two.
Yeah.
And what about the championship? Any team?
Well, they have what 7 or 8 teams playing in the championship in Tobago.
Or they have their own championship
Yeah,
league?
championship division in Tobago.
Okay, so how does that promotion take place then?
So we have 5 zones. All right?
championship is all zones.
Zones.
Okay.
So you play at the zones. And then the winners would meet.
Okay, and then the
So
five.
that's what I was making the point. That if, for
select,
example, 2 teams from Tobago,
Mm-hmm.
all right? Let's say the winner from Tobago, there's a team already in the Premiership division.
Right.
Another team in Tobago wins out the Championship division.
Right.
That team plays in the playoff and they qualify. They get promoted. So now you have 2 teams from Tobago in the Premiership.
Right.
So it can happen where you have 3 teams from Tobago in the Premiership.
Or 5 teams.
Or 5, yeah.
Okay.
It can.
But so the kids in the Premier League in Trinidad or in Tobago travel back and forth to play each other?
Yeah. We have that taking
I
place.
didn't know to do that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. We have that taking place, yeah.
And now the schools are allowed to get their own sponsors if they wanted to?
Yes, once that sponsor is not in conflict with any the national sponsor, the sponsors that sponsor the national body.
And is
But
that
you
happening?
can, yeah, we have schools with sponsors. We have
They
schools
do.
with sponsors, yeah.
Like any like what? I mean, what does the sponsor would do for the school to give them outfit?
Well, each school will
gear,
have their
and-
own arrangements, but yes, of course, you have sponsors who would probably provide uniform. We have transportation, which is a high cost. You might have your training camps that they may, be sponsored. The transport between Trinidad and Tobago for teams, however, the league, of course, subsidized that,
Mhm.
so that basically the league pays most of that, so that you don't have to worry about it.
And at the end of the season, we have the big select team.
Yes.
When you get the select team, that's a national team, like a national schoolboy team, right?
Oh, yes, a national
What-
schoolboy team.
What is involved? Did they go anywhere? What they
Well,
do?
in previous years, we had an exchange with Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
where we would travel 1 year to Jamaica, play, and the following year Jamaica would come to Trinidad and play. And that has stopped. Of course, sponsorship is always the key. Money is always the key. All right, and that is something that we would like to revive. As I said, we are currently having discussions with Sportsmax, and these are some of the things that we are talking about, even beyond Jamaica, even looking at other Caribbean islands, and probably having a Caribbean competition
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day. That is in the early stages of discussion, but that is something that has been thrown on the table, and we had some preliminary discussions on that. But that is something that we think would augur well. So you have a select team at the end of the season, and they can look forward to something, to play together somewhere.
So, let my viewers into some of the things that you might be changing, or you're thinking about changing, or
Well, there are not anything really to change. What we can do is improve.
improve. Okay.
We definitely are planning some to empower coaches. There are some schools who you have people helping the schools, and therefore we are going to train coaches over the July-August holidays. We plan to do 3 courses: a C-Prep, which is persons who have no kind of certification,
Mm-hmm.
and a C license, and a B license. For the first time, we will probably have B licensed coaches in secondary school once we train a batch of coaches. We are looking at probably 25 persons in each of those groups. All right, so that's one thing. And again, all this is geared towards getting proper coaches in the schools. So that's one thing, that a project that will be coming on stream. Last year, for example, in Jamaica, a young man fell down on the field,
Mm-hmm.
died.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking at a first responders training course.
Mhm.
So and this has to be mandatory, that around each team must have somebody who can respond, not just to a knock,
Right.
but to other things, and can at least treat until the professional people arrive. So that is something that we are looking at. I've also had discussions with a gentleman from UDT in terms of strength and conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Again, that is in the early stages of discussion to see how our school can benefit from that, having someone trained to properly pass on the information to the youngsters and so on.
So when you say we, you mean the secondary school administration?
Administration, correct.
They would develop, and then how will you pass out these coaches to the schools?
All right. When we, for example, any coaching courses, for example,
Yeah.
to be able to qualify to get onto the course, to start with, you must be attached to a school.
Right.
All right? So you are attached to St. Mary's, you have a C license, for example, and you would like to go up to the B. Of course, that's one criteria for selecting the coach. All right? Among other things. All right? So we would have a list of things that you would have to satisfy
Right.
before you are selected. We don't want persons to come in, we train you, and then you just put that on your resume and you move on. So you must be contributing to school.
So the school is going to submit the people, like you said,
Exactly. The schools are going to submit the people, the names.
And they submit their coach.
And we would go through the names and select based on numbers. If you might submit 3 persons from your school, at the end of the day, you may get 2 persons on the course.
Right.
Against 3.
And schools are allowed to hire anybody they want as a coach. They can get the best coach in the world.
They can get the best coach in the world.
Ferguson.
My school, for example, Carapachime, I worked with Gally Cummings for a year or 2.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's to do with affordability. And Darren, I want to make a point as you raised that, and I'm glad you raised it. If we are talking about developing the player, then what about the school that can't pay a coach? What happens to that player who happens to be going to that school?
Right.
And this is what I'm talking about, the approach of the national organization. And I'm saying, would like to propose to the national body that you need to work with schools. All right? When I use the example of cricket earlier on, the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board paid coaches to run programs in the schools. Right? Because at the end of the day, the product that comes out of the school is the product that you would embrace at some point. So if you invest in making that product, then you will probably get something. The product get something closer to what you want, right? So in cricket, we had the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board paying coaches to work with schools, but as it is now, there's a school in Point 14. We have good youngsters. I mean, you happen to be going to that school, but you are not exposed to the best coaches because the school can't afford the coaches. Some principals are not too inclined on sports, so you find that students going to those schools tend to suffer, And I think that is one of the things that we have to address. But it has to be addressed at a national level.
Okay, let's take a break now, and after the break, I want you to tell me about player movement, how you guys control that. Viewers, we'll be right back after the short break.
Man, whatever. One of the things, however, in Trinidad and Tobago, somebody raised the issue of shouldn't we be asking students to probably have a minimum, come up to a minimum level in terms of to be able to play.
Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited offers solutions to your immediate and future potential problem areas by providing you with a qualified team of safety consultants. Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited, building a reputation on quality and value since 1999. Located 23 Todd Street, San Fernando, Trinidad. Phone 868-657-1534 or 868-788-6955. worldwidesafety@yahoo.com.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. William, before the break, I wanted to talk to you about player movement. Because is there any restriction on that, or anybody can move anywhere? And how does that work?
Well, there are some restrictions. Yes, a player can move, transfer. Ministry of Education, the parent apply for a transfer for that particular student, because it's a student first. All right, and that student is transferred to another school. That's okay. He transfer, he can play. However, after your 5 years in secondary school, the athletes, for example, are given the opportunity sometimes to repeat. Of course, some schools don't even embrace that, but you are given the opportunity. You have contributed to school life and so on, and you have probably missed some time out of classroom and so on, contact hours and so on, and you are given that extra year and so on. That has been something that was abused in the past. All right, and what we have done over the years is that we have put something in place basically to deal with that. And that if a student is moving from one school to another, student/player is moving from one school to another, he must move with a minimum of 3 CXC passes. 2 CXC passes, sorry, 2. A minimum of 2. All right. Now, a student who, at the end of 5 years, he doesn't get any passes, he can remain in his school and play. But if he's moving to another school, he has to move with a minimum of 2.
So what if he's in Form 3? He hasn't written the exam yet.
Form 3 is fine. You
can move anywhere.
You can move anywhere.
Anybody can move anywhere.
Yeah, you can move anywhere. Yeah.
And
there are no restrictions at that level.
So you can find one school with 12 of the best players?
It's quite possible.
As long as, but what is the restriction to stop somebody from coming into your school?
But you see,
to prevent that.
You see, and that's the problem, because we have to see them first as students. And if a parent goes to the ministry with a legitimate case for moving his child to another school, whether it's based on change of address, financial issues, I can't pay for him to go to Port of Spain, I need him to come to Central, we can't stop that, because I say you have to see that person as a student first.
But you said the right thing, legitimate. There's some...
But the ministry determines that.
Oh, they determine that.
The ministry determines that. We have nothing to do with that.
Okay. Because there's definitely... Yeah. And I know there's some principal, and if I was a principal, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
And because, I mean, back in the day, Don Basil did it. Hey, you get the best players you can.
Yeah.
And give them an opportunity for an education.
Yeah.
And
in the past, as I said, the system was abused, where people just bring people in and play them for an extra year, and the education wasn't paramount, and was not the top of the list. So they play them for a year, use them basically in inverted commas here, and throw them out. You know,
right.
And we have seen that. We over the years we observed that. So I bring you here, I don't help you in any way. You just play for me and then you leave. You know, total abuse of this.
There's also people who come to the school who doesn't even attend classes on a regular basis and get to play, just to play football. At the end of the season, they go.
That is an issue, and that is an internal issue for the particular school to deal with. Again, I can't come into your school and tell you that if you come to me and you show me, I can't ask you to see your rule book. I can't tell you. You could have your own internal thing, which is a student must attend school probably 75% of the time and whatever. One of the things, however, in Trinidad and Tobago, somebody raised the issue of, shouldn't we be asking students to probably have a minimum, come up to a minimum level in terms of to be able to play?
Yeah.
And that probably in an ideal situation is fine. But when you have in Trinidad and Tobago today, secondary school education for all, and you have persons going into schools with 99% and those going in with 5%, 5 to 10%. At the end of a period, do you expect the same results from the students?
Yeah. You know, back in the U.S., you have to maintain a grade.
You have to maintain a grade. But it means that the entering behavior is basically the same. So to enter if you have to enter with 65%, then everybody has to enter with 65%. But we have people entering with 99 and with 10. And that 10%, all he can really do in terms of achieving is probably playing football. So if you take that away from him, then you are leaving him with nothing. All right, we have persons who are in secondary schools today, and that is the reality. And I guess lots of people in Trinidad people don't know that, who have struggled to read,
right?
Who you have to do tables with, right? So you are doing tables today. So we're doing the 5-time tables with people at secondary school. So if that person can play, and that is, he gets a sense of achievement and accomplishment from playing. If you take it away from him, What are you leaving him with?
A juvenile delinquent.
Correct. So
Okay, but
consideration.
again, in the U.S. the system works, but for that semester you have to maintain like a, let's say, like a C average. So you have to do as well a C or above. Otherwise, you cannot participate. I mean, it's motivation for the student athlete, but it's also a form of getting the teachers to cheat for the kid too sometimes.
To keep them in the system.
To keep them in the
But there
system.
was a time when we had, during the common entrance time, when you had to really pass common entrance to get into a secondary school.
That's my day. Yeah.
Right. You had to pass common entrance. Where we have just come to the point where we just see secondary education for all.
Right.
And that has taken it into another level. So we have to operate within that framework.
Yeah, I guess your administration have a tough task dealing with these minor issues.
Yeah.
And the issues with, the little things
What
that we
needs
talked
to
about.
happen in my humble view, I think that we need to have a national policy for student athletes. That is bigger than secondary school. I'm talking about a national policy where government has to sit with the stakeholders and work something out. And a basic framework is that you have centers in the different communities and so on. That these students, if you are playing for your school, you must attend this center. If it is just to move you from the point where you couldn't read to reading, then I want to do that for you, right? So it's mandatory that if you are representing your school, and we have 2 or 3, 4 centers in the East, that whether it's 2 evenings per week, that you attend the center. And we bring you up the persons who are attending the center to deal with the chemistry or mathematics or whatever else, fine. But those persons who need to be moved from that level, we can move you. That is my humble opinion as to how that can probably work. And therefore, that then would be the criteria for you playing for your school. That you attend the centers, you get an opportunity to better yourself. And if you don't do that, then you can't play.
So if I'm going to St. Benedict's, I don't go to school at all. I just play football. I just come the day of football play, and the school allow it. There's nothing in the secondaries.
We can't do anything about that.
Well, they should set some kind
The principals are the ones who are
guidelines.
responsible for running their school, and the principal are the ones who determine who is a bona fide student of the school. And once the principal submits that information to you, a registered student as a bona fide student, all I can go on after that is probably hearing things that, boy, this youngster really don't go to school and so on, but he's registered as a bona fide student of the school.
Okay, and back to the age limit. You said 20-year-old can play. What about 21 or 22?
No. 20 is the cutoff.
20 is the cutoff.
Yeah.
So it is moved up a couple of years, and that's it. And then at any age, if you're 8 years old and I can make the team, I'm okay to go.
Okay.
Yeah?
You wouldn't find an 8-year-old in a secondary school because you are in a secondary school from 11. So,
Yeah,
but
well,
if you are 12-year-old and
exaggerating a
13, yeah, I know.
Mhm.
But I understand the point you are making.
Right.
That persons are probably a 13, 14-year-old who is good enough to make his premiership team. If he can, so be it. He can play.
Right.
There are no
So
restrictions
what are you
anymore.
looking forward to this coming season to accomplish?
Well, as I said, yes, we have our competition, and all the competitions are there. We are looking forward to an exciting season. We have schools, anticipating the new season. But from an administrative point of view, those things that I raised with you earlier on in terms of coaches' development, that is crucial for us. In terms of, as I said, the first responders, because we have to think about the safety and health of our players. That is major for us. And at the beginning of the season, August, I think, as I said, there's something that we are planning that would be very big, that would impact Trinidad and Tobago, not just secondary schools, And it would speak to some of the social issues that we have at the moment. It would speak to that. So we are trying to make an impact at the national level. I was also hoping that, as I said, that we can probably have the heirs of the the national organization in trying to discuss with them how we can make a greater contribution, how we can work together at secondary school along with the national organization to uplift our players, to make, really contribute to football in Trinidad and Tobago. We are willing to do that. There are some persons at the national level who think that secondary schools football should not exist. And I'm saying that we have the players. They are there with us 8 hours per day. We have the fields. We have a safe environment. There's so much that we can give to up at the national level, And I'm saying I think a conversation should take place at that level. Of course, we are just an affiliate of the FA, and I don't know if the child can try to ask the parents to have a discussion like this, especially if the parents think that it is that you are important in the first place. But I'm hoping that we can get to that place where we can sit and talk. For too long, we are operating in silos in Trinidad and Tobago. We seem to think that everybody wants to achieve the same thing, but everybody is in his own silo, and just operating and functioning. I think that is something that we have to change. And if in my term I can get that done, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I know you guys have a contract with a network or
Sportsmax.
But if we wanted, let's say I wanted to highlight a couple of the brilliant college players that I see, I wanted to bring them on my show and talk. Would that be in conflict with?
No, I don't think that would be in conflict with. I don't think that would be in conflict with Sportsmax. They are, from my understanding of the contract, they have exclusive right. Yes, they do particular games. All right, they do particular games during the season. If you a player coming to on your show, it's a whole different story.
So if like I see 2 or 3 players that I want to put in front of the camera so that people can get to know who they are and make them become a household name, what do I go through the school?
Well, yes, it's actually a school player.
Right.
All right, it's a school player, and you have to go through the school, yeah.
Go to school and get that person. All right. On the field of play now, is there any you guys use international rules and there's no limit to?
We are just governed by the FIFA laws and regulations and basically that.
Right, and uniforms and stuff is provided by the school themselves.
The schools provide uniforms. There's some kind of discussion over recent times since Sportsmax came on board about trying to get the league to provide uniforms, and I don't think that is something. Schools have their own taste, they have their own likes and dislikes and so on. So schools do their uniform. If you have a sponsor, discussions took place last year and would resume this year as to where you place your sponsorship logo or mark and so on. But basically, yeah, you do that.
So there's nothing wrong with a school putting on a white T-shirt, everybody put on a white T-shirt and come and play, because we don't have the money to afford some great.
But if you put on a white T-shirt to play and that's your color and you register that color, I have no problem. Whatever it is, it's white. Right. It's just that if your color clash with another school who also has white, you may need to have a black set of T-shirts. That's all.
But I mean, quality of uniform.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay, I've got a couple more minutes left. I give you a minute or so to parting words. If you want to, whatever you want to say.
Well, I'm just want to tell Trinidad and Tobago secondary schools football. We feel that we have a major role to play in the landscape in Trinidad and Tobago, and we have been playing a major role, and will continue to play a major role. We are also hoping that the powers that be see us and understand the contribution that we are making and can make, and that we can, as I said, collaborate and work together to improve the game. To our schools, of course, I would like to wish all the schools the best for 2017, sorry. very soon schools would, some schools probably would have started their training, already started their training, wish all those schools well. And whatever we offer, whether it is the coaching courses, whether it is, as I said, first responders courses, that these schools would try to get personally into to make sure that they can benefit from what is offered and so on. And to Trinidad and Tobago, I look forward to your support for football and for secondary school football in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, I wish all the secondary schools good luck as well. Go St. Benedict's. I want to thank Axtel ACTN for giving us the opportunity. I want to thank the viewers for letting us into your homes and bringing the show to you. William, I want to thank you so much for being here, bud. And all the best in the new position, and hopefully you will make this a success.
It's a pleasure to meet you, man. Legendary.
All right. Thank you. Okay, viewers, we do have an email address, fieldofdreamstt@gmail.com. Drop us a line. And we do have a Facebook page. You can check us out there. My name is Steve David. The show is ended. Go in peace. I'll see you next Monday night. Goodbye.